Supply chain attacks and other application exploits are growing faster than ever. Lack of machine identity is a huge reason. That's why Teleport created Machine ID. Machine ID delivers identity-based access and audit for infrastructure resources like servers and databases, CI/CD automation, and microservices. By consolidating identity-based access for engineers and the applications they write, Teleport closes the identity loophole that enables compromised infrastructure and code to be used in cyber attacks. Download Teleport at goteleport.com/cloudcast.
Cloudcast Media presents from the massive studios in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is the Cloudcast with Aaron Delp and Brian Gracely, bringing you the best of cloud computing from around the world.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome back to the Cloudcast. We are coming to you live from the massive Cloudcast studios here in Raleigh, North Carolina. We continue to move through April of 2022. We're about two-thirds of the way through the month. It's been interesting to see how spring is emerging, at least here in the northern hemisphere and this part of the world. And hope everybody's doing well. Let's jump right into Cloud News of the Week. We've got a few interesting things, a few sort of follow the money types of things, and a little bit of news to report. So, first one is for those of you that like to look at major trends. Gartner came out with their forecast of worldwide IT spending for 2022, and they're projecting about $4.4 trillion in 2022, up about between 4 and 5%. They see that number growing about 8 or 9% into next year, but this year is a little bit slower. I think part of it's inflation, part of it's the war in Russia and Ukraine, slowing some things down, at least for 2022 projection. So nice write-up by Gartner for those of you that like to follow sort of the bigger trends. They look at a lot of different spending areas from data center to software to hardware to devices to communication services to cloud services. So good kind of broad 50,000-foot view of where spending's going in the IT industry. Second thing is Puppet was acquired by Perforce. Puppet obviously being really sort of the last large independent automation company, sort of the original, I guess, big four, probably Chef, Puppet, Ansible, and SaltStack. Ansible obviously acquired by Red Hat, Chef acquired by private equity, I forget which one, last year. SaltStack acquired by VMware, and now Puppet acquired by Perforce. That sort of only leaves HashiCorp is probably a large independent automation company, and then obviously you've got some folks like Pulumi and some others that are starting to move into that space as well. So interesting to see Puppet get acquired. No numbers were announced in terms of the acquisition amount, but Puppet's been around for quite a while. So congratulations to them. They've been a guest on the Cloudcast a couple of times. Third thing we had was there's a good write-up. There's been a number of good write-ups about the Atlassian cloud outage, which continues on today. Unfortunately, for those folks who are using Atlassian and Jira and some of those cloud services, they are still struggling to get that back. But there's a really good write-up in the newsletter about what's been going on and some of the things, and some of the ways that they're trying to resolve the problem, some of the challenges they've had around resolving that problem. So good read for those of you that like to dig into sort of postmortems and figure out how clouds break and how they try and get repaired. And the last thing for those of you that like to follow all things Amazon, Andy Jassy in his first year, I guess now, not completely first year, but coming up on his first year, end of first year as CEO of Amazon, wrote the 2022 letter to Amazon shareholders. So good read, always a good read about where Amazon's going, where they've been focused, where they are having some struggles. I know he addresses some of the issues they've had with warehouse workers and unions and some of those sort of issues that have been in the news. Also digs into where AWS is going as well. So kind of always a good thing to read once a year, sort of see where Amazon's going as a lighthouse for the industry and where Andy Jassy is going. Kind of a good contrast to how predecessor, Jeff Bezos, name escaped me there for a second, how he used to write his letter. So definitely something to take a look at. So that's going to wrap up Cloud News of the Week. We've got a kind of an interesting show coming up. We're going to dig a little bit into an aspect of cloud that we haven't spent as much time on, but it's definitely an area that has seen a lot of change over the last few years and a lot of acceleration of new services. So we're going to dig a little bit into CoLocation and sort of data center as a service right after the break. Today's show is sponsored by Spot, by NetApp, providing a comprehensive suite of CloudOps tools that makes it easy to deliver continuously optimized and reliable infrastructure at the lowest possible cost. Imagine automating your infrastructure to proactively meet the needs of your applications. Imagine leveraging the latest in machine learning and automation to scale your infrastructure using the most efficient mix of instances and pricing models. Imagine running reliable applications, cutting cloud costs significantly, and making life easier for DevOps teams. From cloud cost management to infrastructure automation, Spot ensures you maximize your cloud investment. The end result is simply more cloud at less cost. Discover how the most innovative companies are automating, simplifying, and optimizing their cloud infrastructure with Spot by NetApp by going to spot.io/cloudcast to find more information, request a demo, or start a free trial today. That's spot.io/cloudcast.
LoadForge provides load testing for modern web apps and APIs that's actually affordable. The platform can log in, maintain sessions, test any number of endpoints, and much more. Start with a browser recording or easily script your custom test in Python. Learn more at loadforge.com.
And we're back. And, folks, we spend a lot of time, digging into a lot of different aspects of the cloud. And I know sometimes we get maybe a little over-rotated on, some hyperscalers. We get hung up in SaaS providers and so forth. But the reality for a long time, and we've seen this in survey after survey and talking to various companies, the world is pretty hybrid. It's pretty multi-cloud. People have needs in a lot of different ways. And what that ends up meaning is that, while certain aspects of our industry get a lot of headlines, there are a lot of things that really still need great bandwidth. They need locality. They need certain specifics around security and being able to know where your assets are, know where your data is, and so forth. And so there's a whole world that I don't know we've spent enough time digging into, which I kind of classify as data center as a service, right? The things that have expanded out of CoLocation and other things like that. And today we're going to really dig into that and kind of get an update on where we are in the market around that. And so excited to have Ian McClarty, who is president of PhoenixNAP. Ian, welcome to the show. Great to have you on.
Oh, thank you, Brian. Much appreciated.
You have been, you've run PhoenixNAP now for more than a decade. You've lived through a lot of different things. We've seen, that part of the industry grow and consolidate and expand and a lot of different things that happen. Give us a sense before we dive into some of the specifics, kind of where is that part of the market today? What are the big things that are driving that part of the market, that are influencing it, and kind of give us a 50,000-foot view of what your world looks like and maybe how it's evolved over the last few years?
Yeah, so when we started PhoenixNAP, we started as a colocation provider out of the Phoenix metro region, and we quickly, even less than a year after we launched, we knew that we had infrastructure as a service backgrounds as an organization. That's what started PhoenixNAP. Was we were at a critical mass of infrastructure services that we operated ourselves in the metro, and so we got to a position where we decided to scale that out globally. We already had points of presence in different regions, but we felt that infrastructure services really need to be embraced locally and kind of supported better. Especially when it came to workloads and customer demands that were being brought to us. Mm-hmm. So we quickly brought our hosting background back into the equation and started to build out scale-out product more on the web scaler side is what we classify ourselves as. So you think of a hyperscaler, we're one tier below that. Where we do hundreds of servers in a single deployment stack, but we're not doing thousands or tens of thousands. So there's a tier level there that is different. But there's a lot more customization. So there's always a trade-off, right? And we started looking at this market, and we started to scale out globally. And today, the market looks very different. It's very much an API first approach. It's very DevOps focused. We're seeing the buyer persona change from a CIO or director of IT more into a VP of engineer or principal architect even. And we're embracing that market. We saw this come in some years ago, so we kind of prepared ourselves. We went through some soul searching and reevaluated our product lines and looked at how do we automate this? How do we not just automate, because we had already done a lot of automation orchestration, but how do we expose that automation orchestration? And so we ended up relaunching basically and setting up a whole new stack of infrastructure to do this. And that's what we have today with Bare Metal Cloud, and that's how we kind of see our future evolving and be very, very infrastructure, pure IaaS centric, and do it in a global position. With more and more node locations coming up. Today, there's definitely a lot of hybrid availability, meaning I don't know of a single client that's running everything in one area or one location or one vendor. It's very multi-vendor, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, everything glued together, tied together, right? And so that's the world we live in today. It's a very much a competition world, and we're okay with that. I mean, we've been very friendly to work with the hyperscalers as well. It isn't it isn't about us. It's what's right for the client. So our flexibility has had to increase more, and our connectivity and the way we glue products together has also had to increase. But we do see a lot of this coming in the market. So it's been a good evolution, and we don't see it changing for a while. I mean, we do see this kind of continue to evolve, this interconnectivity plate.
Yeah, no, and there's a ton there to unpack, and I want to dig into a lot of those things. But like you mentioned, let's start with your clients, your customers, the users of your service. Like we mentioned, there's a lot of attention on the hyperscalers, but there are so many businesses that have needs that may be smaller than, like you said, thousands and tens of thousands of servers, but there's also a lot of demand for locality being a crucial aspect, whether it's for security or DR reasons. Being able to sort of offload skill sets, right? Like DevOps sounds cool, but it's really hard to do. So working with people that can bring that expertise and so forth. When you talk to your clients, what are their biggest challenges, right? What sort of unique things do they bring to you and go, we think you're a great fit for helping us?
Yeah, I will tell you one that we were kind of like surprised by was cloud repatriation, right? So we see quite a bit of that workload coming back.
Interesting.
And what that means today, it doesn't mean like you're moving everything away from a hyperscaler, because that's not really what it means. It means you're going through and you're doing a more evolved like tier level of data or like cost basis. Mm-hmm. And you look at that, and either you have some pain points that are not being solved. Like, for example, your bandwidth cost may be too high. That's too much for you for the product owner. That's also another persona that we're seeing more and more as a product owner coming in. Because they're in a sense responsible for their P&L and also for their availability of like how competitive is my product out to the market. And so we're seeing quite a bit of that like either it's an issue with high bandwidth utilization. Performance is also another issue, right? Where in order to be able to do this within a hyperscaler cloud, they have to increase so much so much compute and so much resource level. Mm-hmm. That they'll never get there from a costing perspective. So there's a balance there. So they look at us and they're like, okay, I can get more performance, I can get better costing control, I can get all the benefits of that API first approach that I'm looking for, but yet I don't have to pay the premiums. But yet, our platform doesn't offer everything, right? I mean, we're not doing relational databases, for example. We're not RDS style services, right? On the serverless. Delivery of databases, right? There are workloads and use cases that are very very much better serviced by the hyperscaler. And so when they start figuring out how do I tier this, how do I move this information around, how do I put a little bit of effort into it? Because they're also tending to be very technical people too. That's the other aspect of the house, right? They feel comfortable with it. And it's funny because you think a lot of developers I think there's a misconception that developers are not very attuned on hardware, but they are more attuned on hardware than people think. They catch on really quick as well. So even if they're thinking of like what is an Intel Xeon third generation processor line mean, right? What does that mean? Once you start breaking it down and you start to explain a little bit of that, the concepts have already been ingrained in them. So they themselves are power users a lot of times. So the connections and like the uplift of hardware, like control and like just understanding, is pretty quick. It's either there already or it's relatively quick for them to come up to speed.
Yeah.
So we've also noticed that shift and transition in that buyer persona as well.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I mean, you highlight two really important things there. I think the first one was, this idea that your clients have sort of shifted from the sort of classic, CIO, central, budget controlling, central architecture group to these probably more, somewhat fragmented groups within organizations. So you're working with product owners, you're working with, group VPs of architecture and so forth. And I think that's, makes a ton of sense. That you guys have essentially replaced aspects of IT for organizations that they couldn't optimize fast enough, they couldn't automate fast enough. So that makes a ton of sense. I'm really interested and would love to dig in just a hair more on this idea of repatriation. And I think what you highlighted is really important. I think sometimes we see in our industry, we hear, there's a use case for repatriation and it gets a lot of buzz in the industry. You really highlight an important thing, which is people have just become smarter. They've started to figure out, like, maybe we had everything into the cloud strategy, and now we're realizing, just like a lot of things, when you start to optimize, you figure out where things are best served in aspects of the cloud, other places where things are just too cost expensive, but you can't figure those out until you've actually, sometimes gotten out there and run your workloads in different places. That was a really interesting insight you highlighted.
Yeah, no, and we definitely see it. I mean, we see it daily, right, as a conversation piece, and it's and with that, I mean, there's other drivers there too that are even. I was at a recent data center world conference, and that was a big theme, right? Was cloud repatriation for really big enterprises that were there, and the recurring theme was there's other drivers that are you always have the CFO financial driver, right, which is one. So it's kind of coming from the top down sometimes.
Sure.
But within the board, even you have like a risk, personnel that actually corporate risk, right? They look at their environments. They're like, we're vendor locked. This is not a good position to be in, right? We lose a lot of control. We lose flexibility. We're basically beholden to a third party for what we call critical as a business. So there's even the from a vendor risk perspective, there's a mandate saying, hey, you need to diversify as well. And then there's the other thing, which we didn't think about this one, but it does make a lot of sense, which was like a new CIO coming in, right? And kind of making a name for themselves and saying, hey, we were all in on this one cloud. This happened in the previous administration. Now this new administration that we're going in, we're going to do things differently, right? And so cloud repatriation becomes part of that as well from a corporate mandate perspective. So there are a lot of external drivers, not just to the silo, right? To like as you mentioned, to the actual department running it, and to the product owner, but there's external drivers as well.
Yeah. I want to come back to something that you mentioned briefly before. So much of what you're doing these days is exposing an API, right? Like we used to think of things as, servers and number of racks and, capacity of storage, and you're exposing APIs now. I have to imagine, CoLocation and data center service is still a very capital intensive business from your perspective. But I have to imagine a lot of the technology you're using now has become more software centric, right? You're able to provision it as software. In some cases, the capabilities are software. Like, how much has this shift from very hardware centric world to a much more software centric world really shifted not only how you run the business, but how you're able to spin up new services and deliver new capabilities?
No, that's a great question. For us, I mean, obviously, very capital intensive business that we have on the colocation side specifically. We were already very astute to how servers and how systems, the costing and the basis of all that, going manufacturer direct on all that was definitely, we had already embraced that, generationally. What has become different now is software licensing has become very different, right? Now we're talking about API gateways in the company, right? We ourselves had to refactor our entire software development efforts and to be a DevOps focused organization and to really use what's called a safe agile framework and get it out there. And so we could scale it out as well, because we knew that was going to become intensive on the people side of the house. So, personnel has become more intensive when it comes to developing good software and or even the basics of gluing things together. We even had to split up the teams from a function perspective, saying, hey, these teams are on the DevOps side are going to be focused very heavily on internal, basically product development for bare metal cloud. This other team over here is going to be very focused on orchestration side of the house, on the actual everything they come up with. We need to now glue it together with the CI/CD pipeline, right? With this, and more on the CD side of the house. So
sure. Now
we need to have really good up-to-date orchestration, right, the whole time. So you can't just develop and get certified one time on an orchestration module. You have to constantly be a student of what's going on from a version perspective, differences that are going on in technology, and then make sure that you're up to speed. You can't be more than one minor version behind even nowadays, because things will break. So right. You have to be very, very cognizant of that. Anytime you create a module, a third-party module out there, you have to have it validated and have it up to speed and have it, make sure that everything functions as advertised. And so that has also been a change, right? These are things that 2 years ago we didn't talk about. now they're a normal part of doing business. And so the overhead is very different now. It's we still have all the legacy overhead, and we will continue to have that. But now we have on top of that a software dev shop basically overhead as well. And you have to do both. I mean, in order to be competitive in the market today, you can't have just one piece, and customers are not going to absorb your technology anymore. I mean, they want different ways to they want to even do it even simpler than that.
Right.
They want to, for example, they're using a bunch of Ansible scripts. They want it to be very simple for them to just change some tokens and or some kind of authentication mechanism and to be able to launch infrastructure product that way, right? So the way they even consume product may not even be through a website anymore, or even directly through the API. It might be through an Ansible script.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it is. It's everything has your customers want access to sort of the latest and greatest. A lot of that happens in open source. It happens, and once that starts happening, I have to imagine it accelerates how much faster they're pushing you on. Hey, do you have this new capability? Do you have this capability? Like we like Terraform, or we like Pulumi, or we like Ansible, and you're having to become as good at software and probably in many cases better at software than your clients are, because you're not only helping to service them do it, but you're having to develop those things around it as well.
Agreed. And then the landscape's constantly changing, right? I mean, you look at like CNFC Foundation, right, and you look at the landscape there, and it's constantly evolving. There's more vendors, there's more ways to skin the cat, there's more reclassification of things, right?
Sure. Within
the Kubernetes community. So once you start picking a technology stack, you have to stay constantly up to date on that stack and all the changes that are evolving.
Yeah.
So and requests are coming through, right? I mean, it used to be like vanilla Kubernetes was good enough, some years ago. Now it's changing, right? Now there's different types of cloud controllers that people want to put in place.
Yep. And
so even the way that they adopt those technologies is changing.
Absolutely. I want to shift gears a little bit. Help me understand. We touched on it a little bit at the beginning. Most companies these days are going to be some variation of multi-cloud or hybrid cloud, whatever they feel like calling it. What's a typical relationship between your customer, that you have a business relationship, and how they view the hyperscalers, and then how you partner with the hyperscalers? Like, it's sort of there's an interesting sort of three-party involvement there. What's a typical relationship there? What do they expect from you? What do they expect? Because you obviously can deliver, bandwidth services and private link services with the cloud providers. But how is that a relationship sort of evolved, and what do people expect in that relationship?
Yeah, I think right now the expectations are very kind of segmented in a sense, right? I mean, the customer themselves wants full ownership of the vendor management today, which is fine. We work very well in that environment. We do see an evolution where, and I'm seeing the requests coming through where they want maybe us to I don't say manage, but like maybe have more of the vendor, side of the house to simplify things, right?
Yep.
So we may have to interject more and more into the hyperscaler side of the house. Today, we basically have a demarcation point of like, okay, we can do some kind of direct connect or cross connect or interconnect service back, and then that's our demarcation point. It's very clean. That we do believe that's going to change over time. And with that said, the hyperscalers actually have been very accommodating to work with as well. In general, they've been very very easy, and we actually do quite a bit of webinars and joint campaigns with them right now, because there is a play there. I mean, they all get it. They're trying to go the other side, which is, hey, I see this cloud repatriation thing. I see that this is here to stay. How do we build product that is kind of everywhere as well, right? How do we extend our tentacles out, and how do we better support that? And so they have to partner with people like ourselves, because they tend to be outside of their cloud environments. And so it's a lot of competition in a sense, but also the use cases themselves are very specific. I mean, there isn't that pattern recognition yet on productizing this very easily. There's always a high level customization of some sort, or there's always some special trigger that you got to really account for. Like, it may be you need really big pipe between us and the hyperscaler to make these things happen, because all of the data movement that's going on back and forth, right? And so that's another reality too. But for us, it's been a good, very healthy relationship with the client, and also with the hyperscalers themselves.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the areas that, for people that have been really paying attention and really are keen in how they listen to the market, listen to their customers, that's probably one of the biggest areas that we've seen things evolved. For a while, it used to be very much completely adversarial. But I mean, I think the reality is, like you said, customers are getting smarter. They're starting to realize, where things make sense for them, both from a technology and an economics perspective, and having access to multiple ways of consuming the cloud, whether it's, like you said, hyperscale tier, internet tier, makes a ton of sense. It provides a lot of value all around. How do you go about sort of differentiating? I mean, you talked a little bit about bare metal cloud. That's an area that I think we've seen a lot of innovation happening over the last couple of years. Like, what are some of the biggest things that you see as differentiation, things that your customers really kind of grasp onto in terms of going, yep, that's unique. It serves solves a problem for me. What are some of those areas?
Yeah, so I spoke a little bit about the performance side of the house. So one thing that we have that is unique to product right now, and we've been doing this. This is our third generation with Intel on their Xeon Scalable processor line. Is a vertically scale out for CPU when it comes to consumption of core and gigahertz, and we can do that today. It does require a reboot for it to be able to activate, but we're able to basically have a customer come in with a smaller core count, gigahertz count, makes it very affordable in that regard. But as their performance scales out, instead of having to get another machine and to move data around, they can double or triple the capacity of that device. From a core and gigahertz, from a core perspective predominantly, and add additional gigahertz to that as well, to the equation. So that has worked very well. We continue to see more uptick on that, and you can kind of right size your application at that time. And so that instead of keep on adding kind of hardware to the problem, you add core count and gigahertz to that, and it is dedicated infrastructure, so you don't have some of the noisy neighbor issues that do happen, right, or resource constraint issues that do happen in the public cloud. Yeah. And so that is quite differentiated. That is different to the market right now.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a space I know that a lot has, like you said, has come along. I think we're seeing more workloads that become data intensive. Hence, they become compute and latency challenged and specific. So yeah, it's good to see that happening. I think we went a whole generation of people moving away from bare metal, virtualization, sort of automated things. Now we're seeing much more of tooling that makes it back to where you can treat bare metal like an automatable thing, a flexible capability, and it's good to see because again, so many workloads and so forth are becoming very, very CPU driven, right? I need to be able to go very fast. I need very fast latency. I need to be able to scale it up and down, and that's very, very cool to see. Last question. I want to be conscious of your time. You're running a very big business. What are some of the most common ways that customers look to take advantage of what you provide, whether it's at the technology level, kind of offloading people skills, hey, we want to, we're those groups that, can't wait for our own internal IT. You can help us with those things, capacity planning. Like, what are the most common ways that people, tend to take advantage of the value you provide?
Yeah, so I will tell you the historical, and then I'll tell you what the change that we're seeing right now. So historically, I've been, we kind of classify ourselves very much as supplemental IT. So I think I mentioned this. We're not a managed services shop at all. We're infrastructure as a service provider, right? Which is great for companies that already have IT in place, but there's things that they don't want to deal with, or it's scale out, a web scale issue. Maybe it's really high bandwidth consumption that they don't know how to, they can't, or they don't know how to scale out, or they don't have the time. Honestly, that's one area. Another one is again. That purchasing power of being able to do web scale, a couple hundred servers at a time, and then there's that kind of that just in time, inventory, availability, right? So those historically have been the use cases and the ways that companies treat us, and we fall very well in that. The new one that we're seeing is supply chain constraints that are going on in the market right now. A lot of times when you talk about like enterprise customers, their purchasing may be a hardware refresh cycle every 5 years. They add a handful of servers every year or two, and it's a very slow methodical progression, right, of purchasing. When it comes to the project now that they're getting pecking order wise, they're saying, hey, we need to have a new project that's coming on board. We have this new application we want to launch, and we're because of security reasons or compliance or whatever the costing mechanism, right? We need to go, we need to develop it, and we have a 5-month time window now that the software is getting ready to go production. what they're coming out with now is they're going back to their manufacturers or their vendor, and they're saying, hey, okay, we're ready to go purchase some hardware, and the hardware is coming back at 6 months to sometimes a year of being available. And so that's driving consumption now in the enterprise to services like ourselves. They didn't even really take a look before, but they're like, hey, this is close enough. I can get past some of the compliance and governance issues that we have in place because this is dedicated, and there's a couple of different compliance, expertise that these gentlemen have. So we can go that route. But they're seeing that as a less barrier than waiting around that 6 months to 12 months to be able to launch an application. They can still get it up and running within that timeline given by their management or the product owner. And so that's an alignment that we didn't expect, but it's been beneficial. And I think we're seeing a better adoption of services like bare metal cloud because of those reasons.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Ian, I want to be, like I mentioned, I want to be conscious of your time. I want to thank you so much for really kind of educating us on a space that we hadn't been digging into all that much. And it's, again, there's so much going on in this space because people are hybrid, because, we're in this sort of second, third generation of cloud. It's awesome to be able to pick your brain and really see, what options are out there for companies and the flexibility that's out there. So thank you so much for that. If folks want to get engaged with your team, what's the best way to go about doing that?
Well, obviously, we have easy ways to contact on the website, PhoenixNAP.com. We also have live chat there at 24/7, so easy to get a hold of. And then if there's a sales inquiry, it's always sales@PhoenixNAP.com. Very easy to remember. But we have multiple mechanisms. If they, I'm also on LinkedIn. Easy to find. If you want to reach out and just have some personal questions, feel free.
Good stuff. Thank you, Ian. Folks, with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Again, we want to, on behalf of Aaron, I want to thank Ian for his time today, for his insight. Folks, as always, thanks to you for telling a friend. Thanks for listening to the show. Thanks for helping us grow the community. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to The Cloudcast. Please visit thecloudcast.net to find more shows, show notes, videos, and everything social media.